I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking to you about anxiety and low self-esteem lead to breakups.
These things are super connected. Before we get into it, I did want to say that Craig and I are available for coaching sessions. So if you are curious about sharing your situation one-on-one with us, you can head to our website and book from there.
Absolutely happy to help you out. You know, this comes up a lot. Our anxiety and our inability to see how other people feel and how our behavior is impacting them really has a big impact on our romantic relationships. And of course, that is tied to low self-esteem because this is all really tied to attachment trauma.
And if you think about it, with anxiety, that's really that lack of confidence that you can deal with whatever situation comes your way. So anxiety and self-esteem are very much tied together.
Yeah. And so this is why we're always encouraging you guys to work on yourself, work on those attachment issues, and we're always giving you the skills to do it. Sadly, many of those videos are the least watched videos on our channel.
It's true. It's true.
But we can't make you guys do that work. You have to do it yourself. Now, many of you have to learn the hard way, and I wish you wouldn't. So please, when you see a video title that doesn't look too enticing, watch it. It's like when your doctor tells you to eat your vegetables.
It's true.
Nobody wants to do it. But you have to, because that's the stuff that's really going to help you grow and change to get your ex back. Okay? Either you're going to re-attract them, or you're going to attract people that you've never been able to attract before because of that anxiety and low self-esteem. Right? Yeah.
And our brains convince us that whatever our anxiety is telling us is true. We get so caught up in these stories and these narratives that we tell ourselves, when really, you know, it's the simple things that are the solution a lot of the times. So yes, absolutely. Check out those videos that do talk about relationship skills, anxiety, becoming secure. These are the things that are really important. It might seem a little boring at first, and what does this have to do with anything? But the more you look into those things, the more confidence in yourself you gain.
It's like you have to put the puzzle together, and you don't want to put these pieces in there that you really need, right? People only want to watch the no contact videos, and they don't want to get into the nitty-gritty stuff where they're really looking at the things that cause the breakups or relationships and attraction to fall apart, right? So we've got an interesting email today where you're going to see both partners are struggling with their self-esteem and anxiety and their attachment issues, and it's going to lead to a breakup here. So I thought this is a good one. This is from a couple in their mid-30s, and they started dating in the summer of last year, okay? And they broke up in the spring. They met on a dating app and then found out that they work in the same department. Okay, let's just say they're in the same field.
Yeah.
Leave it vague.
Okay.
I now stick with your videos because I believe you have authentic knowledge and genuinely want to help people. That is true. We do. True. And you guys have to understand, like, Margaret was doing incredible work for 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
She worked in the prisons. She ran agencies. Anytime there was a difficult case, all the agencies would come together and try and get Margaret to work on that case.
Yeah.
Like, it's true, because when I used to work in the same agency with Margaret, she was my supervisor at first. And so one time we had a really, really difficult case with two siblings. It's very, very serious stuff going on, and all these different agencies in there. And of course, Margaret is kind of leading the meeting and stuff like that. But anytime there were difficult cases, they went to Margaret because she was so incredibly knowledgeable. And so
And she worked with real people.
Yeah.
You know, it's not glamorous out there. It's a lot of hard work, and you have to face a lot of ugly things that happen in the world, trauma, things that people experience. And she was ready to get all up in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, she really earned her title.
Yeah. And so, you know, and I worked in the field for 20 years before I was doing the channel. And so we were really trying to help people long before we got interested in doing breakups. And of course, Coach Victoria was behind the scenes ever since I filmed my first video. You were there when I was doing the practice videos.
You told me all about this idea.
Yeah, and you were there with me when we were doing the film, and we filmed 2 together.
Yeah.
We still have hidden on the channel. Maybe one day we'll release it.
Maybe one day.
One of them was on breakup tips, or no, top dating tips, right?
Yeah,
or
something
texting
like that.
tips.
I think we actually shared a clip in
Instagram.
the introduction video. Or was it Instagram?
Instagram too, yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, we are authentic in what we do. We are helping people long before we got interested in breakups, unlike some other coaches out there who maybe will remain nameless. One day I'm going to have a list.
Oh, no.
Unless you stop me.
I'm going to stop you.
I don't think you will.
I'll stop you with all my effort.
Which wouldn't be much. No, don't.
Please don't. Don't release it. No, I'm kidding.
So let's go on. They said, from the workbook, I realized that anxiety is the root reason for my failed relationships. And this is such a huge aha moment. I remember years ago when I really started to understand how our anxiety causes us to act in such a selfish, self-absorbed way that we don't see what we're doing to our partners.
Oh yeah, and people react to a partner's anxiety in so many different ways. For some people, they really distance themselves from that. They feel overwhelmed. Other people, they absorb that anxiety, become anxious themselves. They start to panic. So it really shifts the entire dynamic of a relationship.
Yeah, it really does. And the more you understand this stuff, the more you're going to recognize it within yourself and your partners. I believe my anxiety and low self-esteem have contributed to our breakup. He moved to another city for his job, so we were long distance for several months. Okay, so not everybody can do long distance. Okay, and I had a call this week where the partner was really struggling to do long distance. And it's really hard to understand it, right? Because you may be like, I don't care about long distance, I want to make it work. But not everybody has that attitude.
Oh yeah. And for some people, depending on their attachment style, they can be very much out of sight, out of mind. So it can be really difficult for them to feel connected with you when you're not physically present. You know, and sometimes, you know, speaking on neurodivergence, I know we're trying to be more inclusive when we have these talks. People with ADHD, you know, it's hard. Their mind gets so distracted by everything else that when you have something that is long distance, you kind of lose that structure of a relationship. You have to create a whole new structure, whether that's weekly video calls, whether that's texts at certain times of the day. So structure can be a really important part of a long distance relationship.
Yeah, and that can make a difference. But if there's too much instability and just constant fear of abandonment because you're not hearing from that person, they can't take it anymore. Okay, his new job is very busy and stressful. So now he moved away, new job, very busy, very stressful. He's probably overwhelmed, maybe shutting down, maybe depressed. We don't know what his mental health is like. I visited him 3 times, but I felt he became more distant from me. This can happen, right? He's long distance now. Maybe he's starting to doubt that he can keep doing it. I asked him why, and he told me to stop complaining. As we had just spent a few days together. Okay, so now he's sounding avoidant, right?
Yeah.
Instead of listening to what her needs were and what she had to say about it, oh, no, you're fine. What's the problem? Stop complaining.
Yeah, and I feel disappointed in this response, I'm sure, just as she did. You know, she was saying that she wanted to feel connected with him too. This must not be easy for her on her end either. You know, so.
But that's that anxiety within him, right? Where he's not able to have any empathy for how she's feeling about it. I requested him to buy me gifts to prove he loved me.
Oh boy.
So now we see her insecurity coming out.
You can make any request you want in a relationship. You can ask for anything, right? But to prove that he loved you, you know, that's a whole new layer to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to say, hey, I would really appreciate these things. This is, you know, how it might make me feel. But for it to sound like a test sounds like a setup. Now it's adding to his to-do list of things to get her. I can kind of see where she's coming from. She wants that reassurance, but I wish that she could say it in those words rather than having him, you know, have to pass this test.
There wasn't a healthy way of doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I agree. So now we're seeing both of their insecurities come out. And this is what we're trying to tell you guys, is that a lot of people do stuff like this. And here is a different example of it, right? We don't usually hear this request.
Yeah.
But it comes out in all shapes and sizes.
I'm taking notes over here. Buy gifts to prove love. I like that one.
Most of the time, he gave me what I wanted. I love being looked at after by him. We might have huge cultural and language differences. Well, now that's a whole nother issue. That's two major issues in one little sentence.
Well, I'm wondering about the cultural issues here, because she is saying that she loved to be taken care of by him, and that can be a cultural value for some people.
Yeah.
Where the man is more of the provider and the woman is the one that's cared for, protected by the man. There's certain cultures, like the Hispanic culture has that kind of theme there. So I wonder if that's what she meant. I wonder if he's of a different culture that's a lot more individualistic, independent.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's seen as, oh, she's needing too much, or she's asking for too much, or she's just after material things. You know, so I'm curious.
And on top of that, they have language differences, so it's not even being communicated well.
Yeah, yeah.
I asked him several times if anything was wrong between us. He said everything is perfect, and I should stop worrying, as it's not helping this relationship.
Well, that was...
Like some gaslighting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect, but stop complaining.
Stop complaining. Everything's perfect. The problem is only you're complaining.
And that whole statement is so passive-aggressive. You should stop worrying, because that's going to ruin it.
Yeah.
Right? As she's making requests, I wish that he also felt comfortable enough to be able to say exactly what he meant and needed, instead of this passive aggression, and instead of it being delivered in very rude ways, like stop complaining.
Yeah. But you can see both of the insecurities are coming out in different ways. They're not communicating well. A lot of issues are coming up here, and it's not going to go good. But, you know, it's now it's starting to look like it's looking pretty bad from his end, right? Because he doesn't really seem to care about how her feelings are about everything.
And I can see how this is very frustrating for her, because she's sensing that something's wrong. She's sensing that aggression. That's the undertone of his message. And many of us who are going through a breakup, we know exactly what this is like, where we try to check in with our partner. We try to give them an out.
Yep.
If they are feeling anything wrong with a relationship, to talk about it, you know, to work through it rather than ignoring it and leading to a breakup. And then a breakup happens and we're like, I asked you, was everything okay? And you said everything was perfect. So I can see her frustration building here too, and her confusion.
Yep. It's not going to go well. You could already tell. Eventually, I snooped on his phone and found him talking to girls, including his ex. He and his ex still loved each other. So now... that changes this whole dynamic, right? Because if he's still in love with his ex, or maybe he thinks he's in love with his ex, because avoidants do this phantom ex thing where they obsess about an ex that they really weren't in a good relationship, but all of a sudden it looks great.
Yeah.
You know, 3 years later. So, but this is not good, right? He suspected me looking into his phone, but I denied it. I held this secret for a month. I implied that he was cheating on me and requested he buy me an expensive gift.
Okay.
You're cheating on me. Buy me a gift to prove me you still love me.
Wow. Okay.
Both of these two are...
What is going on?
You guys, this is not good for either of you. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, I could see why she was not bringing this up, I wondered if she hoped he would be more transparent and upfront about it, if, you know, he would reveal to her what was really going on or not. Sometimes when we know the truth in a relationship, we hold it close to our chest because we want to we have hope in our partner that they will be honest.
Yeah.
You know, we want to give them that opportunity before we blow up at them. But it sounds like, you know, it sounds like she wasn't able to handle this in the best way either. She was then trying to find some sort of retaliation or some sort of compensation for what he has done without even ever addressing it.
She's like, buy me an expensive gift and I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, he's like, what do you know about it? Nothing if you buy
What do
me
you know? Yeah, exactly.
How expensive is the gift?
How nice is it? He was furious and refused to do so. He said, I have been nagging and annoying, and he was unhappy with my recent behaviors. This is pretty bad. He's being really dismissive. He's talking to other women. He's in love with an ex. I mean,
refusing to buy her an expensive gift.
I mean, that's the worst part. Yeah, so this is not going well. I also told him I wasted too much time and energy on him, and I want to focus on myself in the future. He told me what I said meant I wanted to break up. I told him it is not what I wanted, and he told me to stop being a silly goose. I'm not making that up.
Oh my
so
God.
he found us out, right? He's like, now he's like, oh, no, you're saying we should break up. When she's not saying that because he wants to get it over
She's
with.
saying no.
And he's like, oh, you're a silly goose. Of course that's what you mean.
Imagine if that's how we did our videos. How to get an ex back. You just tell them that they're being a silly goose, and then you get back together.
That's on one of the other channels.
But it's very clear that he's gaslighting her at this point. You know, he's trying to distort her reality and actually telling her what her feelings are.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, is when someone assumes what you're feeling and tells you what you're going through and what your experience is. So I can imagine just this whole process and buildup for her, between the confusion of what was already happening, between her knowing about these things he was withholding, to now, you know, him telling her, no, you do want to break up, when she's saying, no, everything that I've done so far is to some sort of attempt to keep us together.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. And very bizarre. That's such a bizarre thing to say.
Very immature, too. It sounds like he's avoiding facing the truth here.
Yeah, it's almost like he's talking to like a child.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're a silly goose? Who says that to another adult? I'm going to start saying that to you in videos. You're such a silly goose, Victoria.
It's one thing to say, I think that you'd like to break up, or from what you
It sounds like.
Right, it sounds like, this sounds pretty conclusive to me. What are your thoughts? Maybe there's another way you can frame it so that I can understand it better. But for him to just say, nope, you've made this decision, and almost put the weight and burden of breaking up on her, to me is really unfair.
Yeah, it's like he's gaslighted her into a breakup.
Yeah, yeah.
Eventually I confronted him through text messages. I had snooped through his phone and knew he was chatting to a few girls. He told me he was horribly lonely and did not want to talk in that moment. I blamed him for lying to me. He accused me of not putting effort into him and suddenly decided to break up through text messages. Okay, so there's more of the gaslighting. You haven't been putting an effort when she was the one putting the effort. So I really don't like that, because she was the one putting the effort in, and he's trying to say, no, you weren't even putting an effort in, and that's why I want to end this. There's more like gaslighting from him.
Yeah, and that being his initial response after she had just said, hey, listen, I've caught you talking with other people. You know, this is a betrayal here. For him to not have any empathy at all, really, in his response.
Yeah, and no accountability.
No. And loneliness, being unhappy with the relationship, while that does provide context for your behavior and motives, okay, we understand why he may have been talking with other women, that never makes it okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot that's not okay in this situation.
Yeah.
I was crushed, but immediately agreed with his decision. He said he was unhappy with the relationship and accused of betraying and using him. Okay, well, I could see why he felt used. She kept asking for expensive gifts.
Yeah, yeah.
And she did betray him in a way. But, I mean, ultimately, I think he was up to no good before she was even doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
He told me The ex was the girl he should have married. There's that phantom ex. But he did not. He was no longer interested in talking to me and requested I leave him alone. He then unfriended me on all social media. I kept no contact for about 3 weeks until I received my belongings, including our photo. I then messaged him to thank him for mailing my belongings back. He read the message, but did not respond. I have kept the no contact rule since then. I do not understand why he cheated on me as we were in a committed relationship. It's an interesting way she says that. I don't understand why he cheated on me as we were in a committed relationship. Like,
yeah.
Right? That the way she words that is odd. Okay, well, we're not really sure why he cheated. I mean, maybe he just didn't want to do long distance and he didn't have the courage to tell you. You know, I think that was probably part of it.
And seeing just how he avoids negative feelings. The entire email, I'm hearing that he's avoiding this, avoiding that, not facing the truth, you know, overcompensating by saying everything is perfect. To me, this is a pattern of behavior, and talking with other people, that serves just as much as a distraction from these negative feelings. So to me, that lines up. You know, we're not seeing someone who's very transparent even with themselves.
Yep. A little bit more here. Am I inferior to him in this relationship? That's an odd way of putting it, but we'll come back to that. Why did he break up with immediately after I confronted him? Well, I think he knew he was caught, and he was like, why continue to go on with this ruse? You know? Am I wrong that I still want him?
No, I think it's natural. But now that we're seeing a lot of these behaviors pop up, we have to look at it for what it is.
Yeah, you don't want to keep denying the way he's been treating you, okay? Because it's just going to cause you more pain here. I love him and I want him back. Will he marry? We got some questions she threw out real quick. We're going to go through these. Will he marry his ex?
Let me shake the 8-ball and see what it says.
It sounds like it's like a preview to next week's episode. Will he marry his ex? Is he an avoidant? Is it possible to get him back? If so, what should I do? Right? You know,
it does.
Come on.
The cliffhangers.
Yeah, next week, find out what will happen with this avoidant ex. Will he marry his ex? No, probably not. No. In fact, that ex probably thinks they probably had a terrible relationship and probably is wondering why he's reaching out to her. Wouldn't surprise me.
Or maybe she's also avoiding another relationship using him as a phantom ex.
Exactly. Is he an avoidant? Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get him back? I mean,
I think there's a lot more important questions to be asked before this one.
Like, what would it even look like if you got back together? Look at how poorly this was going. Like, what's to go back to? This is like a shell of a relationship. You know, you guys didn't connect in so many ways here, and you were insecure and trying to get him to buy you expensive gifts because you didn't think he cared about you. He didn't care about you because he was talking to other women and said he was still in love with his ex. Like, there's so many reasons why you should not try and repair this.
And if you think about it, how someone acts during that breakup is so important. It really tells you about a person's character, about their maturity level. Seeing how he's handled this breakup, we're seeing a lot of those maladaptive behaviors come up that just aren't going to be good in a longer term relationship when other stressors come up. You know, if you notice, this was during a time where he was at work, he was stressed, long distance. So this is some information on how this person might react under stress. So you always have to consider that when you're thinking about a long-term partner. When everything is stress-free in a relationship, of course things are going to go great.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not necessarily something that you want to sign on to, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like buying a car that's going to drive great within the city, but you get into the highway and then it breaks down. You know, that would not be a reliable car if you're trying to go the distance, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of other things to consider from is it possible to get him back, because the amount of things that would have to be different in this situation are pretty significant. There's so much that would have to improve for you to have something even remotely healthy with this guy. And you need to take a look within yourself and why you would want somebody who's treating you this poorly. I mean, the gaslighting, he's in love with another woman, he's talking to other women. He takes no responsibility or accountability. He doesn't show any care or concern about how you're feeling. Like, what? I mean, what? What is going on with this guy? What would make you think he could even be a good partner after he's been this bad towards the end?
Mm-hmm. And in this video, we're connecting those concepts of anxiety and low self-esteem. And I think that's really apparent here too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like your anxiety has latched on to his opinion, meaning whether you're worthy or not as a person.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm saying. You wanted him to choose you. You wanted him to prove his love to you by buying these gifts. You know, you wanted to be cared for by him. Some of these things are natural. Everybody wants to be chosen, you know, but it's all in degrees. It's all in how much you allow this to affect you, your mental health, your functioning. So I see that you do have an attachment to him, and that's okay. You know, but you really ultimately have to think about yourself, protecting yourself, because this is someone who we're not sure how careful he will be with your heart.
You better take a real close look at your relationship with your dad. Mom too, but especially dad. Because I'm sure dad probably treated you in similar ways, and that's why you're so drawn to this guy. Because this isn't healthy for you. All right, a lot going on in this situation, but hopefully this gives you some insight into some of the things we're talking about. If you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.